This presentation will give you a brief overview of your student's MAP score report. We will be looking at the MAP Student Progress Report. There are 5 key components of this report: the Student RIT Score, comparing student RIT scores to national norms, the Student RIT Projection, RIT Growth, Growth Projection and Percentile Range, and the Goal Performance Descriptors. If you do not have your student's MAP progress report in front of you at this time, we would suggest you have it out now before we review these 5 key components. Please feel free to pause this presentation at any time. Here you will see an example of a student progress report. This student is in 5th grade, so you will see that they took 3 tests: mathematics, reading, and language usage. Any student in grades 3 through 8 took these 3 MAP tests. If you have a student in grades K, 1, or 2, you will only see mathematics and reading on their student progress report. Let's start examining this report by looking at the student RIT score comparisons. I've outlined one of those comparisons for you in this black box. What a student RIT score comparison is simply a series of bars that tell you different data points. For example, the blue bar is the student RIT score. That is the actual score the student received on that particular MAP test. So for example, this student scored a 225 on the mathematics test. Now, how do you know if that is good or bad? Well, you compare that score to the yellow bar, which is the norm grade level mean RIT. What do they mean by norm? Well, that means the norm group, which was simply a sample of test takers that represent a certain population. So what happened here in our norm group is we had lots of students from all of the United States take this test. So we're comparing your student score to the student scores in that particular group. Now there's also an orange bar in the middle. Now that is the district grade level mean RIT. That is simply how the district did average-wise for that particular grade level. So Johnsburg District 12 overall for 5th grade scored a 206. So you can see how we stacked up to the norm group. Let's take a look next at what's in the red box, the student RIT projection. This is how many RIT points your student is expected to grow in that particular subject area by the end of the school year. This score or better should be what your student scores on that particular MAP test at the end of the school year. The winter MAP test will tell you how well your student is progressing towards meeting that target. Next, let's move on to what's in the blue box. There's lots of information in this particular box. First, you'll see the term or year. FA15 means fall of 2015. Now, we've only given one MAP test. As we administer more and more MAP tests, you will see more and more data there. The spring will be SP16, and so on and so forth as we continue to give MAP tests. You'll see the grade level, which in this case is 5th grade. You'll also see the RIT score. The middle score is what you want to look at, 225, which is the same as the score above the blue bar. They also give you plus or minus the standard error. The reason they do that is to give you the range of scores your student would fall into if they were to take the test relatively soon after taking it the first time. Let's skip over to the percentile range. This student scored in the 82nd percentile. That means they scored at or better than 82% of students in the norm group. Now there are 2 columns here that don't have any data in them yet: the RIT growth and the growth projection. You will see data in them after we take our spring administration of the MAP. The RIT growth will tell your students actual growth. So for example, 225, 235. This student's projected growth is 235. So if they actually grow 10 points, a 10 will be in that column. Growth projection is the growth that was actually seen by the norm group from fall to spring. So let's say that was 7. If that's the case, then a 7 would be here. And last but not least, let's take a look at what's in the purple box. And you notice I've outlined 3 boxes here because each tested area has its own goal performance descriptors, and that's what's in the purple box. So for each tested area, the specific goals tested are listed, along with the rating your student received in each area. You can receive ratings of average, and high. That means your student is on target. However, students can also get ratings of low and low average. That means your student is not quite on target in those particular goal areas. For the reading test, you'll notice that you will also get a Lexile range. That simply indicates the level of text complexity your student is ready for. What I want to emphasize about any of these scores is it's all about growth. I wouldn't get too hung up on the numbers at this point. I would be more concerned that your child is growing in each area. What you see on this screen is a sample of a reference sheet that you will get along with your student's progress report. You will use this sheet if you need further clarification about what anything is on your student's score report. If you have any specific questions about your child's MAP score report, please contact your student's teacher, principal, or the District 12 Curriculum Office at 815-344-5908.